Hey everybody, welcome back to Better Computer. My name is Matt, and today we're going to be talking about this. This is the LG UltraGear 32-inch 4K OLED monitor, and it is a really great monitor that I've been using for a few weeks now and wanted to give you my impressions of it. There's plenty of videos out on YouTube about this display already. It is a pretty good one, and those focus mostly on gaming, and I think that's valuable. I do play games on mine. I have a gaming PC down here as well, but primarily I'm using this with a Mac, and I wanted to give a review from that perspective. So I'm going to compare this to the Studio display because a lot of people think the Studio display is like the default display you want to get with a Mac, but it's really expensive and doesn't have all the features that I personally would want from it. And so today I wanted to compare the features of this with what the Studio display gets you so you can get an idea for kind of where it falls and what might be right for you. Now, you might have noticed this monitor is sitting on a pretty nice looking desk, right? Well, that's thanks to today's sponsor, FlexiSpot. FlexiSpot makes some amazing desks, and I was really excited when they wanted to sponsor a video because I'd been looking at upgrading my desk for quite a few months, and FlexiSpot seemed like the obvious choice. I was really happy that once I got mine delivered, that it lived up to the expectations I had for it. And just to be clear, I will do sponsorships on this channel. Obviously, we're literally in the middle of one right now, but no company can pay me to say I like their product when I actually don't. I would make a lot more money on this YouTube channel if I was okay with that, but it's a line in the sand that I just don't want to cross. Anyway, I'm someone who is used to using IKEA desks, and this feels so much better than anything I've ever used from IKEA. The desktop itself is really nice. I got the walnut material, and the base is frankly more sturdy than I think it needs to be. It feels really good and looks sharp, but it's also incredibly powerful. Not only will it easily stand up to whatever you want to put on top of it, it's rated to lift up to 355 pounds, which is just like, does it even need to? That's such overkill. But it totally can, and if you ever need to lift yourself up for some reason, it is totally up to the task. Now, of course, because this is a motorized standing desk, there is a built-in control panel that lets you set up to 4 custom heights. I have mine set up for my preferred standing, sitting, and driving heights. Yes, you heard that correctly, I have a slightly different desk height when I'm using my steering wheel to play racing games. FlexiSpot is confident in its products and provides a 15-year warranty on the desk frame motor and 2 years on the control panel electronics. You can find a link to the product in the description, and once again, my thanks to FlexiSpot for sponsoring today's video. So we are going to go fast through these because I'm not a professional display reviewer. I'm just going to give you some impressions and mostly comparisons. So the resolution on this is 4K. The Studio display is 5K. I have nothing else to say. The Studio display is crisper. In terms of size, this one's 32 inches. The Studio display is 27. So again, you're getting more screen on this display, but fewer pixels. So I already know where you're going with, and for that, we need to switch to the Mac so I can show you what that means. So a lot of you probably have the word retina rattling around in your head right now, and that's totally fair. And I don't have time to get into all of it because this would take forever, but I've made a couple charts to kind of illustrate how this display stacks up. So in general, people consider retina, quote unquote retina, to be around 60 pixels per degree. That's where there are enough pixels in every degree of your vision where you can't really see them. And the Studio display is well clear of this at about 112 pixels per degree when at my desk, which is about 28 inches from my eyes to the screen. On a 27-inch 4K display, you're at 84, and on this display, the LG 32-inch, it's about 73, so definitely much lower, but still north of that 60 pixels per degree mark. For fun, I included a 55-inch living room TV, which is like $200 these days. At 4K, that is about 170 pixels per degree. It is, in theory, the crispest screen you have in your life if you're sitting about 10 feet away from it. On the other end of the spectrum is the Apple Vision Pro, which is only about 34 pixels per degree, which is technically amazing in so many ways and is best in class, but is still quite low compared to what we get with physical monitors. But my setup isn't your setup, and so I wanted to also make a chart of how far away do you need to sit from one of these monitors for it to be quote-unquote retina. And for the Studio display, that's about 16 inches, so pretty darn close. For a 27-inch 4K, it's 21 inches, and for this LG monitor at 32 inches, you should sit 25 inches away or more. Again, I've measured it myself, I'm about 28 inches, so I'm just north of it, but I'm definitely on the cusp. So the Studio display obviously wins the clarity battle, but once we get into display tech, the LG starts to take the lead, and is one of the big reasons why I chose this monitor. So it's an OLED screen, it's 240 Hertz variable refresh rate, so it uses NVIDIA G-Sync and AMD FreeSync on Windows to synchronize with your game. If your game drops below 60 hertz, it's able to kind of update the frame rate of the monitor to match that, so your frame pacing is nice and smooth, even if you drop some frames here and there, which is great. On the Mac side, the variable refresh rate is technically there. macOS will let you select it, but it doesn't seem to work. I've gotten like weird glitches on screen when I think it's trying to adjust the refresh rate, but macOS gets confused, or something happens, something's not working there. But when I lock it to 240 or 144 or 120 or 90 or 60 or whatever I set it to, all those are perfectly fine. But yeah, the variable refresh rate only really works for me on Windows reliably. It could be my cables, who knows? But yeah, so it's a massive improvement. OLED plus higher refresh rates, it's awesome. Really love that about the LG. Then a couple other things in terms of I/O. There's a display port and 2 HDMI 2.1 ports on the LG. On the Studio Display, you only get one Thunderbolt 3 port. So for me, that doesn't really work because I have multiple computers I have plugged into it, and I want to be able to switch between them easily. With the Studio Display, I'd have to either get a switcher or I'd have to manually plug different things in each time. That's annoying. With this, I just have both my Thunderbolt dock for my Macs and my just gaming PC over HDMI are plugged into it, and whichever one is active gets the screen auto switches for me. It's really, really good. I prefer that. And then in terms of design, I think the Studio Display is unmatched. I think it looks really, really nice, but this LG doesn't look bad at all. I got the white variant. I think it looks really clean. The stand is really, really nice, has very subtle branding on it. There is an NVIDIA G-Sync sticker on here that I'm going to peel off right after recording this video, but I wanted to make sure you saw it. And then the stand as well is really solid, right? Like, I can raise it, lower it, I can tilt it, I can turn it side to side, I can turn the entire screen 90 degrees and make it an incredibly tall vertical monitor if I want, but none of that is possible on the standard Studio Display. You have to spend hundreds of dollars extra to get a even height adjustable display stand there, and to get the matte finish, which this also has. It does have a matte finish on it. That's another couple $100 for the nano texture thing. So this cost me less than half of what the equivalent Studio Display was, and that's a big thing as well. So I did get this on sale. It was $999 on sale. Normally it's $13.99, whereas the Studio Display starts at $16.99, but very easily goes up from there when you need the additional stand, and if you want a matte finish, yeah, you're going to be paying quite a bit for that Studio Display. And so that's just simply not in the budget for a lot of people. It wasn't in the budget for me, especially for one that wasn't going to work nicely with my Windows computer. So yeah, that's a quick look at the LG UltraGear 32-inch 4K OLED monitor. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's not going to be for everybody, but hopefully if you're thinking about it compared to a Studio Display, you have an idea about what the differences are, and hopefully this was useful. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you here next time. Bye-bye.